The Ancient Gods Part 1 for Doom Eternal is an expression of absolute confidence on part of the developer id Software. In the months leading up to its release, there have been some questions about how this thing would turn out. Would they listen to the haters and tone down the things that make Doom Eternal the game that it is? Or would they make it for the fans who want more? Fortunately for us, they chose the latter. Not only is everything about the Doom Eternal experience here, but it's cranked up. They've doubled down on every aspect of their design, literally doubled in the case of the two Marauders. The chaotic arena fights are crazier than ever. There's more appearances from enemies with weak points to target, more carcasses blocking your every move, more whiplashes ruining your day, and they're invisible now. More large platforming sections taking you from one huge area to the next, more environmental hazards, more enemies demanding precision and quick reflexes. The Ancient Gods Part 1 was not made for new players, and it certainly wasn't made to appease the people who don't like Doom Eternal. They couldn't have stated any more clearly the message of, "We are not listening to you, go play something else," and it makes me so happy. The first thing that's really noticeable about the Ancient Gods is the increase in pressure units. Arachnotrons and Mancubi harassing from a distance, and way more Barons of Hell charging at you, 2 or 3 at a time. There's more Cyber Mancubi, which is really awesome, and more Carcasses, my favorite enemy. In the first map, you've got these turret things. I like them, and I'll tell you why. They don't shoot a bunch of automatic bullet spam continuously. They pop up and shoot a few projectiles that you can dodge, and that's it. And I like that they're kind of smart. If you sit and wait to target them, they'll pop up and shoot you instantly, so you get hit for trying to cheese them. They're a good little source of harassment during fights to make you uncomfortable. A couple quick sniper shots with precision bolt, ballista, or even a rocket will take them out. They push you to get better at quickly aiming at a small target, which is a skill that directly translates to getting better at eliminating enemy weak points. If you're already good at picking off Mancubus cannons and Arachnotron turrets quickly, then these turrets are nothing. They're just a nice source of ammo for a good player, since they drop a few rounds upon death. If you've been ignoring the weak point system in Doom Eternal, just trying to power through with the super shotgun and chain gun, the turrets are gonna fuck you up, and that's 100% on you. Time to get good, as they say. This is something I talk about often here. Design decisions in Doom Eternal do not exist in a vacuum. Completing a task in this game directly benefits other aspects of the game. Through individual skill-based challenges, it teaches you to become a better player overall. This applies to the platforming puzzles as well. On the surface, you may see a platforming section and think it's just there to break up the fighting. And sure, that's one aspect of it, but there's something to learn from it. You may not be conscious of it, but getting to the point where you can quickly pass through platforming sections has the effect of making you better at controlling your movement during arena fights, since the arenas contain so many platforming options. The Marauder has a similar design philosophy. What makes you a good Doom Eternal player? Good movement, resource management, weapon swapping, using the faltering system. Using these things is how you take down a Marauder quickly. And getting to the point where you can take down a Marauder quickly is a way of making you better at dealing with the entire game. And in the Ancient Gods, they throw 2 Marauders at you, or a buffed Marauder. Because if you can deal effectively with a Marauder under hectic conditions by using the right strategies, you'll be getting better at dealing with all enemies under hectic conditions. There's something to learn, even if you don't realize. Speaking of platforming, there's some cool stuff here. As I've said before, the platforming options in Doom Eternal allow the level design to open up immensely. You couldn't have a lot of these level designs if you didn't have fun ways that you could traverse them with. We have some new additions, most notably the fans in the first mission. Disabling them because they can toss you into the ocean, and turning them on to blow you across to the next platform. I think this stuff is so cool. There's a lot more platforming integrated into the combat this time, and you can feel that as soon as you enter the first arena. Arenas are very large with a lot of spaces to jump to, and what's interesting is that despite them being so large, they're made up of lots of little claustrophobic areas that focus the action into pressure points, so you simultaneously feel very free to move about and under pressure constantly. This structure of the arenas lets the melee-focused enemies shine. Hell Knights feel much more threatening than they did in the base game because when you see them, it feels like there's nowhere to run. Fodder numbers have been bumped up significantly, almost to horde mode numbers, and that serves multiple purposes. More chainsaw opportunities, larger replenishing of armor from groups of enemies, but the best thing is that, at least for me, it makes it a little more difficult to just focus on the big guys to try to get the fight over with. Yeah, I need to kill that Doom Hunter on the other side of the map, but I've got 5 imps and 3 gargoyles and 3 shield guys surrounding me. I'm gonna switch quickly to another topic, the music. That was the other thing that people were concerned about. I was one of them. As soon as they announced that Andrew Holsholt would be working on the music, my worries disappeared. The Dusk soundtrack is awesome, and it makes a lot of sense to pick him. And I'm happy to say he did a good job. The music is great. It doesn't reach the levels of Mick Gordon's soundtrack, but that's okay. I didn't expect that. Doom has an established musical tone, and Andrew had one mission: make something that sounds like it fits that established tone and throw in some of your own details. All this music needed to do was sound like it belongs in the game and drive the action. It succeeds at that. I'm not in love with it. I think it's missing iconic riffs. Mick Gordon's songs didn't just define the tone of the game. There are some really catchy, almost pop riffs that stand out and stay in your head for weeks. I don't get that from the music this time around. I think it complements the game just fine, so I'm cool with it. It just doesn't grab me. There's also a bit of a mixing issue. The music feels a bit low. I recommend playing the game with about a 45 to 50 sound effects level so the music can stand out. I also think the music is a bit too in your face in the first level. That's a strange criticism, I know, but it feels like the intensity never goes away. Even in periods where there's no combat, the music feels intense. Sometimes I wish it would back off and let me breathe a bit. This issue isn't present in the following levels. Maybe it was made like this because they want to hold people's attention and drive their excitement in that first level. It's a small criticism, and one that really only applies to the first playthrough. I don't even notice it anymore, to be honest. Level 1, UAC Atlantica, gives us a lot of Doom 2016 vibes. That makes sense. It's a UAC facility, and half of Doom 2016 took place there. And while I like this map, it's nothing compared to the next two. The Blood Swamps is when this game gets crazy. This is where the developers start actively screwing with us with some old school 90s cheap and annoying tactics that will cause your blood pressure to skyrocket. I love it so much. If you get angry, good. Get angry. Let that motivate you. It's a good feeling. I love walking into a room and getting overwhelmed, not knowing what I should focus on and getting slaughtered. It's a puzzle that I have to figure out. Who am I going to prioritize? What am I doing wrong? That's the kind of game I love. This level goes hard on the environmental hazards, leading to a couple of my favorite sections of this DLC. The first is this ambush in the fog. You're surrounded by exploding poison gas hazards, and in the fog there's a possessed arachnotron that you can barely see. Really cruel stuff. The other is this section where one of the spirit dogs leads you through the fog, and you have to stay in his area of protection so the gas doesn't kill you. Out of the fog comes waves of fodder enemies and then heavies. This section is extra special to me because it feels like it was made for full auto shotgun, a mod that gets more and more useful when you know how to use it correctly. The arenas here explode into total chaos. I'm talking 2 Archviles, lots of Barons, Marauders, and Spirits, the main attraction of the ancient gods. Spirits possess demons, turning them into your worst nightmare. A possessed demon moves twice as fast, can't be faltered, can't be frozen, can't be chainsawed, can't have its weak point broken, and has what feels like a 400% health boost. A possessed demon needs to be taken care of immediately, especially if it's a Baron or a Hell Knight, because they will not leave you alone. I think it's a cool way to mix things up, to occasionally have fights where you have to prioritize a huge threat. When you kill one of these demons, the spirit becomes vulnerable, and in an homage to Ghostbusters, it has to be killed with the microwave beam mod of the plasma rifle. This is now the first enemy in the game that actually has to be killed with a certain weapon. I think that's okay for the game to flirt with forcing you to use one weapon for one special enemy. It's a special exception, and it's a cool one. Possessed demons take less damage from plasma weapons like the rifle and the ballista, which discourages people from spamming super shotgun ballista all the time, and it complements the fact that you need a lot of plasma ammo for the exposed spirit. If you're using all of your ballista on it, you won't be able to kill it with the microwave beam. She has a lot of health, and the microwave beam slows you down, exposing you to surrounding enemies. It's a deliciously cruel design because it puts a lot of pressure on you to get it right. Maybe you'll want to throw down an ice bomb as soon as you see her to give yourself a moment to focus on her. If you can't keep the beam on her long enough, she'll get away and possess another demon and you have to start over. I can't express how much I love this. She's a huge pain in the ass, and that's exactly what this DLC needed. By the way, does anyone else think this hazard section is a tribute to Quake? The end of Mission 2 is a bit underwhelming. There's a fight with these floating boxes where you have to target their eyes and punch the boxes into this space in the center. It's a cool concept and I thought it was fun, but I didn't think it was very challenging because a simple ballista shot shuts them down, and there aren't enough oppressive enemies around to really pressure you. Though I imagine playing on console it would be a bit more difficult because of the precision required. Map 3 is the Halt, or Fallen Urdak as I call it, which is almost immediately crazy. The Bloodmakers, or Blood Angels, whatever they're called, are a great addition to the mix. They're surprisingly easy to kill when you can focus on them. They're only vulnerable when their armor opens, and a headshot will take them out just like the Maker drones. It's easy to brush them off as easy, until you end up in a larger fight where it becomes difficult to focus on them. You'll be dealing with other enemies, and suddenly he shoots his massive projectiles at you, which are devastating and slow you down to a crawl. This will screw up your plans big time. This map is full of crazy arena fights, some built around tricky platforming sections. I probably died the most times here because things can just get out of control if you lose your cool. You'll see a lot of tyrants, even a possessed one, but the Marauder feels absent in this level and I don't know why. The final boss fight against the Seraphim is quite epic. You face him directly a few times, but you also have to fight a couple waves of dual spirits. And I tell you, there is nothing in this world worse than a possessed pain elemental in an arena full of lasers and a Bloodmaker. I got my ass kicked for a good half hour, and it felt really good. I loved this challenge. I haven't quite developed a consistent strategy for this fight yet, but I'll get there. This is definitely near the top of the list of my favorite fights in Doom Eternal. Just pure suffering and pressure. I really wish there had been one more phase of the boss though. It feels anticlimactic to defeat the boss by passing the last enemy wave. I wanted to deliver the killing blow. I know you don't actually kill him in the end, but I felt a bit disconnected from the victory. Now, the story. I don't have a whole lot to say about the story because I don't follow it that closely. I prefer to focus on the gameplay. I found maybe half the codec entries on my first playthrough. Secrets are well hidden and I didn't find a lot of them. I read every codec entry I could find and what I read was awesome. Like in the base games, the story is simple but the lore is complex. They've confirmed what we've all known for a while, Samuel Hayden and the Seraphim are one and the same. The story doesn't go deep into what he really wants, I assume we'll get that later. It's sad that we'll never have Hayden talking to us again though. I hope we aren't stuck with the intern. I don't really care for him, I don't like that he constantly states the obvious to us. I won't go into more story spoilers, you can find that on other channels if you want that stuff. I'll just say that I'm excited to learn more, and there's some pretty crazy story points that will lead to epic confrontation down the line. There's a few other small things to mention. There's a couple Slayer gates which are fun, but I don't think they get crazy enough compared to the rest of the levels. I like seeing more Marauders, but I think there should have been more appearances of 2 Marauders at once. Really, my issues are minor and don't take away from how great the experience is. So that's about it for the Ancient Gods. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. I saw that the Doom Gods like Draku and Bite Me have already beaten it on Ultra Nightmare on their first attempt, and that's just insane to me. I don't know if I'll be able to beat it on Ultra Nightmare, but props to them. Also, people have been asking if I'm working on a brawler mode for this. Right now, I'm not ready to think about that. I need time to take in the whole experience before I even consider something like that. If it happens, I'll announce it. Thanks for watching everyone, and have fun slaying demons.